Okay, I was expecting to roast all of these drinks and be like a snob, but like I haven't had a bad drink yet. Hi, what's up? My name is Chris, and I worked as a barista at Voltaire in San Jose. And people always ask baristas, have you ever served a celebrity? I haven't, but I see a lot of people leaking celebrity orders online, and I thought I'd try to make some of them at home and see if they're any good. I know Ariana Grande had that one coffee line in that one song that was everywhere last year. Apparently now she's like a Starbucks ambassador, and she has her own secret menu drink called the Ariana Grande Frappuccino. Doesn't make that much sense because she's vegan. But it does sound really good. It's gonna start off with a vanilla bean frappuccino, which apparently doesn't have coffee in it. So I'm gonna use vanilla bean ice cream with milk and ice, and I'm gonna add in raspberry syrup. I couldn't find that syrup anywhere, so I just used raspberry preserves and turned it into a syrup on the stove by adding water and a little bit more sugar. I'm surprised the raspberry jam into syrup thing turned out as well as it did. Then we got chocolate chips, chocolate syrup, and I'm gonna mix that in and blend it all. Then obviously, gotta serve it in a clear glass, top it with whipped cream and a little bit of caramel. Okay, yeah, that's really good. But I don't know what else I was expecting, because it's literally just an icy milkshake, which is always gonna be good. So it definitely would have been better if I used full fat ice cream and milk. That's probably where the raspberry comes into play, because it's a little bit acidic, and acid generally tends to cut through fats. That's why people use like lemon juice, vinegar, lime, whenever they make like really fatty meats. This is coming out of nowhere, but I feel like a pinch of salt, you know, like salted caramel. I don't know why, that would make it better. Now, Charli D'Amelio recently did a partnership with Dunkin on a drink called the Charli. I'm gonna taste test this recipe using the actual Dunkin cold brew packets, and I'm just gonna follow the instructions that they give on the box. I'm gonna measure out all of my water just to make sure I'm not messing this up. I think 4 cups is like 950 milliliters or something like that. And I'm gonna saran wrap the top of my container and put it in the fridge overnight. It's been about 12 hours, and I took the cold brew out and made the Charli right over here. It's just cold brew with milk and caramel. I have no clue what a caramel pump is, so I just went with 3 tablespoons. It's supposed to be 3 pumps, so I'm gonna taste test the pure cold brew on its own, just because I don't wanna do Dunkin' dirty like that. I don't wanna mess up the recipe and then like not like it. Okay, I kind of messed up because I got donuts last night, so my mouth is already really clammy and sticky, so the caramel definitely doesn't help that much. Okay, so a few things to note. One, as expected, it is a super dark, really low acidity, kind of bitter roast, and that makes a lot of sense because they probably expect people to drink it with milk, and this kind of a coffee bean holds itself up to milk really well, and it has a really light body in the sense that the mouthfeel in your mouth feels physically like water, but it is super strong. I know the whole flavor notes thing is super pretentious, but I'm not getting anything specific in here. Maybe chocolatey, nutty kind of stuff. No fruitiness or tartness or bright sweetness in the coffee itself, and that makes a lot of sense because they're probably trying to appeal to as many people as possible by using a really balanced blend, and it tastes exactly like you would expect traditional coffee to taste like. I used to think that I would never ever drink coffee black, but that's just because I was using really dark roasts from large commercial brands. They really try to sell you on that, saying that it's stronger, but you can get a stronger flavor in lighter or medium roasts just by the way that you brew it, and dark roasts tend to hide inconsistencies and imperfections in beans. But yeah, I really like this. Back to Ariana Grande. She partnered with Starbucks on another drink called the Cloud Macchiato. It looks cool because it has this really fluffy foam that they call cloud foam, and I think we can replicate that by using icing sugar and powdered egg whites, which I got in the form of meringue powder. I got some of the Starbucks espresso beans, but I don't have an espresso machine, so I tried to make something that's just close enough by dialing it in on a mocha pot. And no, it's technically not espresso. Like, it doesn't have enough pressure, so you don't end up with that crema on top. But like, come on, I tasted it before putting in the milk, and it's close enough. Like, relax. I'll take it off the stove once it starts bubbling, and I'll run it under cold water to stop the extraction. It should give me about 45 to 50 grams or so, and then I gotta make the foam. I don't have an electric mixer, so we're gonna have to whip this one by hand, which gives me really bad flashbacks to Dalgona coffee, so I brought an elbow brace just in case of tendonitis. Yeah, whipping anything by hand takes about like 20 years or so. It's about the journey, not the destination, or something like that. Put some milk and then get a spoon and make it look all nice. Look at that. And then they make this waffle thing with the caramel. Here we have it right here. All of the normal sized cups were in the dishwasher, but this is actually closer to the traditional macchiato size. The Italian macchiato is just 2 shots of espresso with a tiny little dollop of foamed milk on top. This is not the Starbucks macchiato, because they do it like backwards. Theirs is like a latte macchiato, but the typical cafe macchiato or espresso macchiato is like barely any milk, and it's like that small. So let's go ahead and try it. Okay, I was expecting to roast all of these drinks and be like a snob, but like I haven't had a bad drink yet. But the caramel on top is actually, is it caramel or caramel? The caramel's a nice touch. I feel like all Starbucks drinks are kind of the same thing. It's just like vaguely milky coffee kind of flavor with some hit of sweetness. Yeah, the foam barely tastes like anything. So I try to find other interesting coffee orders. Everyone else just gets soy lattes, but in an interview, KHLOE Kardashian said that she gets a venti 7-pump no water chai latte. First of all, chai is just tea, so it has to have water. Second, how is it a pump? What I think they mean is that they just brew chai tea and then reduce it down to like a concentrate that they use as a syrup. And then when they serve it, they just cut it with water to make it back into tea and then make the latte. So KHLOE probably just wants the concentrate with the milk. I saw that Starbucks on their website shows what's in their chai, and I could do that from scratch, but it's kind of similar to this tea bag that I found at the grocery store. I'm gonna use 7 bags and then reduce it down into a syrup with sugar that's roughly what 7 pumps would be in volume, and then make the latte out of that. Let's go ahead and try it. Okay, that's not bad. If I had to pick a least favorite one, it would probably be this one, but I'm surprised that it's pretty spicy and it cuts through the milk pretty well. I learned a few things. One, you can make a dessert taste fancier just by adding some kind of acidic tart fruit, even if the dessert itself isn't supposed to be acidic or tart. I learned that cold brew packets work. You can just make syrups on the stove, and foam is exhausting.